Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Sim Rigs race one-off round one live at Silverstone. It is a fantastic event we've got lined up for you today because we're seeing, for the first time for a lot of us, the first time we're seeing the brand new Dallara LMP2 out on track. Multi-class event today. LMP2, GTE, GT3, and GT4 will all take the track at the same time for a 45-minute race around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. My name is Jack Cannan. Alongside me, Sam Fitzpatrick, as always, Mark Trander on the cameras. Sam, I think it's fair to say we're all really excited to see this brand new LMP2 out on track, racing in the flesh for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if many of our viewers have had an opportunity to drive this new car so far, but if you haven't, then go do it. Go buy the car and drive it around for a few hours. It is a lot of fun. I think we all knew it was. It's been probably, I think, the most overweighted car for a while. I mean, we really should have had this thing in iRacing for a few years ago, but we finally got it, and it's very nice to have it. I got a pretty nice grid of cars. We've also got the GTE cars, a couple of GTE cars, a couple of GT3 cars, and the GT4 cars as well, the BMW and the Porsche GT4 cars. So 4 different classes for us today, and that should keep us getting throughout.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, the LMP2 is an absolutely fantastic car to drive, but of course, the Ferraris and the BMW M8, as we go over Ferrari drifting through turn one, Scott McFall sending it through turn one there in that Ferrari. So we got the Ferrari GTE and GT3. We have the BMW M8 GTE, of course. So there was a limit. There's obviously a limit on the amount of cars you can have in a session. So we have the Ferrari GT3 and the Mercedes GT3 on track with us, and then of course the Porsche Cayman GT4 and the BMW GT4. But here we go. We're going straight into the race. It's Josh Malin on pole position in the LMP2 class. So red denotes the LMP2 class. Josh Malin, of course, real life GT5 racer here. Lee McNeely, Dave Ward, Freddie Hewitt, Jack Wright, Michael Seal, Daniel Merchant, Henry Church, and Connor Chalmers. That is the LMP2 grid. Then Luke Bennett and MJ Briggs in the 10th and 11th spot. Then Stephen Bird in P12. Further down, Scott McFall, who we saw in the Ferrari, Ricard Carlson, Chris Simmons, Milton Carvalho, Martin Hobson, Sam Swallow, Paul Phelan, Dan Carpenter, Richard Sanderson, Magnus Johansson, Dan Fisher, and then William Chadwick in 24th spots with Jess Martin, Liam Atkins, JB Hayward, Kieran Fitzgerald, Gary B. Duckman, and Cameron Moss at the back of that one. So the orange would denote the GT4 class that we've got going on, of course, in those Porsches. So you see a couple of cars are slotted in there. Thankfully, Mark sticks it up on the top of the page there. LMP2 in red, GTE in green, GT3 in blue, and GT4 in yellow. Surprisingly enough, Sam, very, very little GTEs on the circuit today. I'm quite surprised by that.
Yeah, it's such a popular class, isn't it? It's one of the most popular classes on all of iRacing, up there with the GT3s, but I think maybe quite a few drivers who have been waiting for the LMP2s for a while have been driving the GT in the meantime, so that participation might be a little bit split in the future. Yeah, just Bennett and Briggs alongside one another. Also feeling as well, the might be a little bit of a mixed up grid for these drivers, just with the way that the session had to be set up. Might see some P2s a little bit further back, so watch out for that at the start of the race, maybe even some GTEs as well. A little bit further back, you can see they're feeling a little bit further back than he would have wanted. But looking forward to this one, it's an iconic sight seeing prototypes go through the first couple of corners at Silverstone. I've been to a couple of World Endurance Championship meetings here at Silverstone, so it will be fantastic to see them slalom their way through Abbey for the first time.
Yep, so rolling start as per WEC rules as well. I think as well we're almost certain that the drivers have also got to take a mandatory stop. So we'll wait and see in due course that comes to fruition. But it's Josh Malin and Lee McNeely on the front row in those LMP2s. It's fantastic to finally see them out on track. And in the future, of course, we can have full endurance champions, LMP1, LMP2, GTE, GT3, all on track at once. But these LMP2s, they sound fantastic, they look fantastic, they drive fantastic. Let's see what they're like in race trim. Here we go. Josh Malin going to take us to the green flag here in Silverstone for the Sim Rigs event. Round the final corner, and the green flag will wave for Josh Malin. Liam McNeely follows, and a good gap back to Ward, Wright, Seal, Church, Merchant, and Chalmers are your top 8, and the 8 LMP2s that we've got on the grid. Then Bennett and Briggs, first and second in GTE, and McFall, Byrne, and Simmons, your top 3 in GT3 as they file through here. There's your leader of GT3, Scott McFall. And then we have a couple of cars coming through. Lots of Ferraris in this one in the GT3 class. A couple of Mercedes as well. Oh, there goes one of the Ferraris spinning around in turn number 1. I think that was Carlson spinning around. And I think it actually was Bird spinning around in turn number 1. But the LMP2 classes all clean away. And Scott McFall slotting himself right into the mix of the GTEs. I'm just looking at it actually, Sam. They're already trying to warm tyres, but they haven't even got enough time to get the temperature in the tyres.
Seemed like Connor Chalmers was losing out because of that, because he's gone miles off. You can just see him rejoin the circuit. We also had a bit of an unsafe rejoin as well for Nilton Carvalho, who got spun before the race even started. They need to cut a couple of GT4 cars. We now go back to Felon, who's in that GTE car, just trying to pass his GT3, not rival, but fellow driver. In fact, actually Briggs is in a GTE as well, because both the GT, both the Ferrari GT and GT out on circuit, and Felon just getting ahead at the moment. Lots of different classes in that little battle. But yeah, it was a good start for Malin, good start for Seal as well, up a couple of places. Great start for Felon actually, up 9 places. But so Connor Chalmers down 11. You see a couple of LMP2s well out of position. Well, apologies, no, in 4th and 5th. But running wide there is Wright, and Seal just about takes that position back up into 4th place as the car number 3.
Yeah, try to move on the inside way too late on the brakes. Of course, everything's still cold, and look at this. Look at field of GT3s mixing it up with GTEs as well as they file through. That's Dan Carpenter with Hobson behind them. Mercedes battling in the background as well. Fisher and Sanderson going at it in the background. They go round nicely there, keep themselves in check. But as Simmons, Swallow, Briggs, Carlson, Phelan all together up ahead in that little train for the lead of GT3 and GTE, which are embroiled in their own battle. Bennett has broken away from Scott McFall, who leads GT3 class, but Phelan and Carlson, they're all together as a huge one in the last corner with a couple of cars involved. Phelan, who was second in GTE, he's now out of this one with the contact through the last corner. So Bennett, McFall, then it's Briggs is definitely damaged. Let's have a quick look at this again. Hops the curb, and that slows him down. Comes to the last corner. Does he spin it? Hops the curb again, loses it, and then just gets collected by one of the Ferraris there. And sausage curbs, we know how dangerous they are. That's a perfect example of how dangerous they are.
Respect the curbs. That was, well, I think the first one was just accidental. That second one, he was picking a real tight line through Vale, and it cost him very badly in the end. And yeah, drops well down the order with quite a bit of damage. Now Bennett leading that class by an absolute massive amount, 13 seconds clear of Briggs in 2nd place. So that's fantastic for him. Currently McFall leading the GT3 cars, and he's in fact a long way ahead as well. So lots of fuel spread at the moment with the various incidents that these drivers have been involved in. And we also see Chalmers as well. He did start in 9th place, dropped way down though with a big off. I thought he hit the wall hard there, Chalmers. That car looked fine. I don't think this car's got the new damage model. Unfortunately, it's certainly the race I did. I tested out the damage model quite a bit, and not deliberately, I'll add. But and it didn't seem to cause any damage whatsoever. So Chalmers going on quite well at the moment, and he's almost passed all of the GT cars.
Yeah, and Chadwick leading GT4, of course. GT4 having their own one down the down the back there. Carpenter battling away. We go back to GT4. There's one of the there's William Chadwick there in the lead. Porsche Cayman. They're still lapping around there nicely. A few GT4s in the grid. He's got a decent gap. He's actually got a massive gap back to the next car, so he's doing really, really well as William Chadwick as he fights his way through. Just tries to hold this position. And through goes one of the oh, there's actually contact between them, and round goes one of the Ferraris. That was Duckman trying to go up the inside. Chadwick looked like he tried to come back around the outside, extra grip in that Porsche, and sends the Ferrari spinning. So that's something I've not quite seen before, battling with a GT4. But the Chadwick comes through unscathed, but Duckman sent spinning. Now this is the battle. This will be for 3rd place in GT3, the battle we're looking for. So Swallow in P2 in GT3 is the Mercedes just in front of this battle. We're looking at Rickard Carlson, who is coming down the straight there. Then we have Carpenter behind him, Hobson, Bird, Fisher and Sanderson, and Phelan trying to make his way back through in GTE. There's only 3 GTEs, so he's guaranteed a podium in GTE if he just gets to the finish. But LMP2 wise, it's still Josh Malin who leads by 2.7 seconds over Liam McNeely now in P2. So LMP2 quite spread out, still quite close, but also quite spread out at the same time. 15 seconds separates that 7-car train, then 15 seconds back to Bennett, who leads GTE. Scott McFall, who leads GT3, and William Chadwick, who leads GT4. A fast lap of the race from Josh Malin. That time here he is, as they now begin. It's only lap 4, but they've already caught the GT4s.
Yeah, such is the phase advantage that these cars have got. I think these cars can lap like 325 now. Le Mans, certainly below the 330 mark, which is some 20 seconds faster than what the GTEs can do. So around a circuit like this is probably going to be about a 5 seconds, probably 5, 6 or 7 seconds to be fair, over the GTEs. And over the GT4s, probably about 12 seconds a lap faster are these cars. On 46 for Malin on that last time round, and many of the drivers further down going over the 2-minute bar. In fact, all of the GT cars over the 2 minutes. So big difference in speed, but no problem for Malin at the moment. He's just been extending that lead slightly to McNeely so far. A bit of an issue for Sanderson further down. We now watch the car number 17 might be able to make up one of these places back. He did seem to be dropping down all of a sudden. Carvalho, after his incident at this corner on the basically on the race start, spun round and collided with a couple of cars. He's come in for repairs. They do get 2 fast repairs out here to the drivers. So if you do have a big incident, it's not necessarily the end of the world for you. However, you do lose a decent amount of time with this pit lane. The pit lane is extremely slow around here, just to make up for the fact that, of course, you do cut the final couple of corners. So decent amount of time lost for the drivers. Simpson has an opportunity to pull away from Fitzgerald and Simmons here, because they're passing quite hard with one another onto the grass. There was Simmons, and don't want to do that too often. Going to lose a lot of grip, and he's now going to be under pressure from Fitzgerald down the outside. And apologies, Fisher and Simmons holds on to 20th place overall, but look at that, 1 minute 20 behind. They're going to be a lap down probably in about two laps time.
Yeah, these LMP2s are so quick. We're still keeping with this battle now. Kieran Fitzgerald in the Mercedes now trying to fend off Chris Simmons behind them as they come up towards Copse Corner. Gonna have to stay behind for now. But a good run from Simmons on the way out there as they come towards Maggots and Beckett. He's trying to get himself alongside. I don't think he's going to be able to get through there alongside, and he does back out a little bit there. But all that's led Richard Sanderson just to open a small gap in that Merc. And Chris Simmons will definitely looking quicker in that Ferrari, up behind Kieran Fitzgerald here. Now on the power. Let's see if he can get a run down the hanger straight here. Gets a decent drive out as they come down towards Stowe for the 5th time already. We've got through 5 laps of this race already, and still has to stick behind. There's a problem for Briggs, it looks like, in GTE. He falls down a little bit, 2 positions there, but keeps himself going. So he is behind these 2 right here. So obviously had to slow up, possibly a slowdown, but he's now behind these guys, and it's even given Bennett even bigger lead than he had before. But Scott McFall leads GT3, and Sam Swallow P2 in that one, and he is 9 seconds behind the leader. Here we are. This is the class breakdown. This is just within the GT3 class alone, as here we go. Carlson goes for P2 up the inside as Swallow makes a mistake. And that's how quickly it can change. Very easy to do that on the exit of that corner, because the little bit of patch of grass on the outside will catch you out. And this will be MJ Briggs in the GTE class trying to make his way back through the field here. And good job we have the class breakdown, Sam, because it's impossible to tell who's GTE and who's GT3 and Ferraris.
It really is, yeah. Often we see series deliberately. Well, I think we've seen IMSA in the past actually deliberately not have both the GT3 and GTE Ferraris. I think back when it was maybe a 6-car limit, they reduced that slightly. But so we have them both out here today, which makes it fantastic for us commentators to try to watch it. Going back to this bout of game, Fitzgerald coming back against Sanderson. He had the opportunity to pull away. It looks like Sanderson had the faster pace, but has fallen back into the clutches, and he's on bet of losing another place here. Oh, that was just a tiny tap of palm on the front corner of Fisher's car. And apologies, on Simmons' car. And he goes spinning round. By the way, loving the Brawn livery. Not sure if we've got the Brawn livery up on the stream, but always like that colour scheme. Goes down in in legendary terms. Never soured that because it was only around for one season. But no, I'm a big fan of the 17.
There is Josh Malin lapping them. That's how quickly the LMP2s have just lapped the field. This is now the P17, P18, and Josh Malin clears them pretty quickly, thankfully. Oh, there goes the Braun livery. You cursed him, Sam. Round he goes. Richard Sanderson loses it in the background in the Merc, and now falls off the back of this battle. Kieran Fitzgerald and Dan Fisher are the only ones left standing. The Fitzgerald had a good start. He's up 10 places from where he started. He started out in 28, which is virtually the last row of the grid, and he's up to 18. There is Liam McNeely, P2 and LMP2, just behind these two cars. He's going to catch them very quickly here. You see the speed difference between the GT3s and the LMP2s through turn 1 alone. Just absolutely no problems, just flat out through the second part of this one as Dan Fisher gets on the back. Kieran Fitzgerald here has to stick behind for now. Merckx line astern here, very close to the back. Dan Fisher, see if he's going to be able to go for a move here down towards Brooklands on the inside line if he gets a decent run down the Wellington straight here. And there you go, Fitzgerald got a little bit defensive there as he heads towards Brooklands. I don't think Dan Fisher's going to be quite alongside. He shows himself a little bit, but he's not quite able to get alongside Kieran as they come through. Now there is Ward in the background in the other LMP2. Here's Henry Church down in P6 in LMP2, and he's got a Merchant for company in P7. He's only about a second off the back of him, and he's also not too far behind Wright up ahead of him in the P5 position in LMP2. That the blue liveried LMP2 just up ahead of them, who just went wide in Brooklands, which gave him a little bit of a run, Henry Church, and nearly also had an off track there, which cost him about 2 seconds. The 6.3 it opens out to now to Josh Malin out front, and through Cops they go, and now they've got to deal with the lap traffic of the GT3s, which is going to be not a great place to catch them because the speed difference through here is quite something.
Yeah, it is. You can get held up so easy. Very fortunate there for Church not to lose more time than he did. He was a bit through Chapel, but it wasn't too bad. Actually, does close the gap by I think over half a second there. Church. Through Chapel, there's going to be a pun in there. I'll think of one later on. It does get through. I would say that these P2s, they look a lot easier to drive than they actually are. I was expecting the car just to be massively stuck to the ground, kind of really smooth, a little bit like what the HPD was. But they do oscillate a lot, is what I noticed. You know, over the bumps that they do really oscillate quite a bit, and if you've got a good direct drive wheel, which I don't, I'm sure it does feel absolutely fantastic maneuvering this car about this circuit, even though it's pretty smooth. Try it at Belle Isle, and yeah, you'll feel the issues, and of course over the curb as well. Really does struggle with such a low ride height on these cars. Right ahead of Seal, just ahead, and yeah, Wright must have got that done down the Wellington straight into 4th place, so good news for the 67.
There's a lot of traffic now because I was just looking at the time delta between our P1 and 2 as Henry Church goes wide in Brooklands there, but the gap between the leaders came down to about 3.5 seconds when it was at 6.5. So Josh Malin lost 3 seconds on that previous lap, and I would wager that was lap traffic in a way. We can see Jack Wright, Michael Searley just slotted in front of him on that lap now. There it goes massively wide. That's the exit of Cop's corner, now towards Maggots and Beckett's now. It's a decent battle for 4th place, but Jack Wright is into P4. And see if he can hang on there. He's got about 12 seconds to make up to P3 because Ward is on his own there in P3. He's 12 seconds ahead of these guys and also 10 seconds behind Liam McNeely in P3. So these guys are on their own for now, at least. And talking about people who are on their own as well, Bennett in P9, in leader of GTEs, he's about 20 seconds in front of the next car, which is quite something. Scott McFall in P10, he leads GT3. There is our leader of GTE in the BMW M8, and he is, how about that, 50 seconds in front of P2, and Briggs and Phelan are 3 seconds apart, but that is a humongous gap. 50.5 seconds, 9 laps into this race. We have 15 minutes gone out of this 45-minute long race, but 50 seconds after all the incidents. I mean, it takes something really catastrophic for him to lose that lead as he comes up to speed, which the leader of GT4, that is William Chadwick up ahead.
Bennett's fastest lap is 4 seconds faster than Briggs and Phelan's fastest laps, which pretty much tells all he needs to know. 1:57, the only GT.
Oh
Can't
God!
get below the 2 minutes. Chadwick hard into the wall. That's probably going to require damage. You don't usually see an incident at the at that bridge, to be honest, and it does look like it's crabbing quite a bit. So I think the best thing to do would be to come into the pits, and that is what Chadwick is going to do. The car number 28 got to get slowed down for the pit line, and that is what he does. The Vibe Esports by Sim FX driver. But that is going to hold Chadwick quite a bit up. In fact, that was the GT4 leader. And Martin, is he within range to potentially benefit from that? Martin actually just going through the final few corners at the moment. So it looks like Jess Martin will take the lead of that class from William Chadwick. And Chadwick will have to make up the time later on. Here is Martin. Should just about be able to nip past. No, Chadwick's still ahead on the pit exit. So Martin wasn't quite close enough to take advantage of that.
Yep, but she closes in nonetheless. You can see the gap draining down. It's going to be quite close, as you can see. Coming through turn 1, gap comes down to just about 1.4 seconds. It's still reducing. And there is the GT4 leader. That is what that small incident has done. A very confusing incident. I must say, I've had a quick look back on the stream. I think what he was trying to do was move out of the way of Luke Bennett, but in so doing, he moved too fast for the car, and it slammed into the wall. Down there, but that's brought the GT4 class right together. And here is now the usual mess that you see as, oh, that's a move for LMP2 as well. Going to make some good advantage here as they come through this long-hander. This is Daniel Merchant fighting with Henry Church for P6, and one of the GT3s is trying to get himself involved there, but Merchant couldn't quite get it done. But using the lap traffic to his advantage there, and almost managed to get a move done on for P6, but Henry Church still hangs on to P6 for now. Goes wide into Luffield to get himself a better run on the exit of Luffield, and hangs on for now. But we're seeing right in the middle of the field there was a huge long train of Ferraris with like Bird, Hobson, Briggs, Swallow, Phelan. All those were so close together as they were trying to force their way past each other. As we here it is. It was a little bit longer, not too long ago, but Martin Hobson with MJ Briggs, who is down in second in GTE, a long way off our leader, Luke Bennett, who's just 50 seconds behind, and Sam Swallow, P15 behind. Just a reminder of the class breakdown: LMP2 in red, GTE in green, GT3 in blue, and GT4 in yellow. And there's your class leaders: Josh Malin in LMP2, Luke Bennett in GTE, Scott McFall in GT3, and Jess Martin, the new GT4.
Yeah, Martin Chadwick having a spin. You could just see the smoke through Chapel. I think that was Chadwick at least. And Martin managing to take advantage of that. Chadwick still very close though, only 1 second. And might be able in range of an overtake. So a topsy-turvy GT4 class at the moment. Here it was. This is how Martin got past. Wait to see a very slow car. So it wasn't actually at Chapel. It was actually ahead of the car that we were watching. And then you'll just see Chadwick getting back onto the circuit. But back to live pictures, and there's only 0.3 seconds between the two of them. In fact, actually Chadwick getting a tap round by one of the LMP2s. Unfortunate to get back going quite as quickly as they did. Martin into the lead then, and we're going to have to see if Chadwick has the capabilities of overtaking.
Well, this is going to be fun now. We've had plenty of experience with the GT4 league races, and they tend to be quite close. On board now with William Chadwick as he battles for the lead of GT4 20 minutes into this race now. Gets a good exit out of Luffield. Might be able to slingshot his way past Jess Martin now, side by side, down towards Cops Corner. Is going to be door banging almost. He tries to force his way through, and one of the GT3s is trying to make his way through as well. And they're going to go 3 abreast. The GT3 slots in front. Chadwick up the inside to retake the lead of GT4. Jess Martin now going to try and get a run out, but she can't quite do it just yet. Trying to slot in behind one of the GT3s right there, but Chadwick retakes it now, and Martin slots back up the inside with a lovely move into Maggins and Beckett using the lap traffic, and now they're still side by side as they come through as they come through Maggots and Beckett on the exit of Chapel, down towards now the Hanger Straight, down towards Stowe for the 12th time. This is a great little battle for the lead of GT4, and there's plenty of GT3s trying to get themselves involved as well. Chadwick back to the outside line. Martin squeezes him, and round the outside goes the Ferrari GT3 class. Chadwick back up the inside to retake it now side by side down towards the last two corners now. This is fantastic racing between these two now. Chadwick trying to outbrake around the outside. Smoke puffs as he locks up going through there. Martin holds on for now, but the traffic really playing its part here as they fight their way through. But really feisty stuff from these two.
Yeah, fantastic battling. There was some good resilience there from Jess to keep on coming back as she did, but you do feel as though Chadwick's, it's only a matter of time until he does get back past and starts to pull a gap. Does seem to have a pace advantage, but it's always great fun racing in the traffic as this. As Church has a big side. That's the difficulty of the P2s. They look so stuck to the ground, and all of a sudden you have a moment like that. That's probably not even traction. That's just the rear end just over-rotating through the corner, and could have been much worse there for Church. By the way, no off-track limits as well. The drivers can go off the circuit as many times as they like, and I would advise for it, because there's a few tenths of a second to be gained by going a little bit wide round some of these corners. Church now 1 second behind Michael Seal, just ahead, in fact 8 tenths of a second behind, and he was 1.6 seconds faster on that last lap. Merchant coming along as well, matching Church on that last lap time. They've also got Wright as well. What that turns is Wright doing? Actually faster than all of them, to be fair. Also Malin with a little bit of a sail at that last time. Man lost 3 seconds out in the lead. So do keep an eye on that top those top two. Of course, they are teammates, however, Malin and McNeely. So you'd expect they won't do anything too crazy. But I do believe this is just a one-off event. It's not the start of a championship. So if they did come together, this would be a good time to do it.
Yeah, it looks like Malin's struggling a little bit here because he was really slow coming through those little two corners. I wonder, is he carrying some sort of damage? Because you can see on the delta there, 2.8 seconds he lost in the previous lap. I saw that time delta. It was down to 9 tenths of a second. He gained a second back in Sector 1 alone. There is Jess Martin. And McNeely tries to make his way past her into Maggots and Beggars. But now LMP2 has the battle reignited after this now. So McNeely now closing the gap on the leader. 1.4 seconds it now stands at with we've reached the halfway point of this race, and we think that there is a mandatory pit stop inbound for these guys. And see, the gap is really coming down now. I'm pretty sure Josh Malin has got damage on the front. We're going to be able to see if we can see what happened to him.
Oh, this would be legendary camera work from Mark Tranter if he's been able to find this one. Well, I think that's the off track, to be fair. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe Mark's just wasted our time here. Looks like it has. So from hero to zero there. We'll be making sure that Mark doesn't do any more of these series. So yeah, Josh Malin may have damage, may not. I'm very unsure, by the way, on the pit stop situation, because I did see some messages from the drivers in the iRacing chat just before the race got underway. Do we have to do a pit stop? And there wasn't seemingly any conclusive answer. So I think most drivers will not be coming into the pits if they can possibly help it. All these cars should be able to do 45 minutes on a tank of fuel. So unless there's been another call, I imagine we will not see any pit stops in this race. But I don't know, maybe there might be some confusion on that regard.
This is the battle for second in GT3 between Stephen Bird and Rickard Carlson here as they head down towards Stowe. Up the inside goes Stephen Bird. Can he get that stop? Looks like it's going to be a slam dunk move there for Stephen Bird into P2 of GT3, 11th overall, and they've still got a really large gap to Scott McFall, who leads GT3 at this point in time. But Stephen Bird comfortably now into second place as Josh Malin now starts to reopen that gap that he lost just a lap or two ago as they file through. They should be coming up now to re-lap these guys quite shortly as Just looking now, Chadwick back into the lead of GT4. So there's been a swap again between those guys, as we have actually Jess Martin is into the pit lane. So possibly mandatory stop coming in here now.
Perhaps. I'm not sure what the call will be there, but the duty calls can go for days. I think they last for about 17 minutes as Malin having to negotiate through the traffic, and McNeely is well within passing range here. Oh, that was very nearly contact with the Ferrari of Luke Bennett. I think that was, he nearly made contact, or maybe it was Phelan, apologies, and actually McNeely losing loads of time there. I don't think that was contact. I think he just had to turn out of the corner, perhaps saw that Ferrari in his mirrors, and lost about 8/10 of a second. Otherwise, he would have been in with a chance of getting the draft down the Wellington Straight and into Brooklands. But he certainly put himself in range here, and it maybe McNeely's just dealing with the traffic a little bit better. It's always a lot easier as the following car to go through the traffic. You've got a lot less to lose, and you're going to play more risks, because if you see the driver ahead get past one car, you're going to have to get past that car on the next corner, absolutely, because you're constantly chasing away. Perhaps there's not that same urgency as the race leader if you've got a little bit of a cushion. But McNeely has so far dealt with it, and also Wars as well, only 9 seconds behind these guys, and has been matching them for kind of the last 10 minutes or so. So a little bit of battling amongst these two, and we could have a 3 scrap for the race win.
Yeah, McNeely definitely had to turn out of that corner after the Ferrari locked up, almost went into the back of him. Lucky that he came away unscathed, but he lost almost a second over the whole lap now as a result of that one little error. So continuing on, it's these guys are still very, very close together on track. 9.7 back to Ward in P3, and then a humongous gap back to Jack Wright in P4. 34.6 from Ward back to Wright. So there's quite a large, almost 40 seconds, well over 40 seconds between Malin and Wright at this point in time. So gap opened up to 2.1 seconds now. Malin stretching it a little bit. He got away with a bit of murder there, I think, coming through turn 1. He obviously had to get right out of the throttle, and in comes, speaking of which, Jack Wright into the pit lane from 4th place as we reach just over half distance now. And here is Luke Bennett in the BMW. He's the leader of GTE, and just behind is the leader of GT4, William Chadwick. And again, the gap comes down to 0.4 of a second between Malin and McNeely. Again, so it's right back down to where it was when they came through 1 and 2. It keeps bouncing up and down as they make their way through traffic. But it's really interesting to watch this now. Bennett trying to make his way past some lap traffic here. That was the Ferrari, who almost came together with Liam McNeely in the first couple of corners. He gets through safely. Luke Bennett is almost a minute ahead of Briggs in P2 and GTE. So Jack Wright re-emerges, P7. And whether that was for damage or for fuel, he re-emerges in P7, which puts Michael Steele into P4 and Church in P5. And those guys are going to battle it out for that spot.
Briggs in, now going to try to chase down Carlson. Could see Carlson out there, by the way, driving the GT3s. We've got Eastern Crowd from the GTEs in the Apex Racing League GT Championship. But that Hellraiser's livery always looks good. I think it's a good design. It's very transferable among all of the different cars that they race. So, good job by those guys. Nearly back up to 3 seconds, actually. Just lost half a second through the final sector, so 5 sectors round this lap. Look at the steering lock on that. Not usually seen so much for a high downforce car in particular, where you just yank on the steering. That's incredible. I mean, do you not think that's a little bit odd there, Jack? It's almost as though he's on a controller, to be honest, with the amount of steering lock he's putting in. But then a little bit of finesse with the steering onto the Wellington Straight. I, to be fair, suffer from that same technique. I usually put a little bit too much steering lock in rather than slowing the car down. But I imagine it's going to generate plenty of tyre heat by using that strategy.
Yeah, it seems to be working for him, even if he is using all that steering. Like, well, we're on board with him in practice as well, and that seems to be just his style. It's not damage. He's just using all of the lock available to him, which is really unusual compared to Josh Malin, who's using kind of more fine inputs on the wheel as they come through. The gap goes up to 3.8 seconds now. And this is the battle for... This will be mid-pack in GT3, Chris Simmons and Dan Carpenter. Carpenter ahead of Simmons here at this point, as that would be Kieran Fitzgerald pitting at this moment in time. Just see a couple of LMP2s and the leader of GTE making their way through in the background. So sorting themselves out now. 15 minutes left in this race. And it's flown by pretty quickly. There hasn't been much changes apart from the lead in GT4. It's the only thing that has changed over the course of this race. McFall still leads GT3, Malin still leads LMP2, and Bennett still leads GTE. So through goes the number 3 car, that's Michael Seal. And P4s, here we go. Simmons having a look around the outside of Magnussen Beckett. That's really tricky. That's going to hold up Henry Church in the background, and it might allow Merchant to come through as well. This is a perfect example of what traffic does to you, as Merchant in the LMP2 class is going to try for a move on Henry Church as both GT3s go off as they fight their way through. But Merchant now closes up on the number 5 car of Henry Church, all from that small little moment of getting impeded just behind. And now it's a real chance at the top 5 for Daniel Merchant. And these guys are now also trying to catch up to Michael Seal, just up ahead of them. That's dragged him right up into this fight. Number 7 versus number 5. And that's the danger of these cars here, as off goes Church way off the road, and then Daniel Merchant going to have a go on the inside line for turn number 1. Surely going to get this done now, and does. Slot into 5th place, and that was all stemmed from getting held up in Magnussen Beckett's.
Yeah, it's that's really held him up with the traffic, and allowed Merchants to move through there. I'm not sure if Merchants necessarily a whole lot fast. They have been very evenly matched throughout this race, so he might be able to retaliate. I'm interested to see how these cars kind of battle amongst one another.
Change for the lead.
As McNeely, Malin has gone off the circuit according to our system, and he's still off the circuit. He's losing vast amounts of time. I fear that has he even hit the wall? That car looks all right, but he's lost loads of time there. That's probably more than a spin. He's gone a long way off the circuit, or maybe he's just had to wait to rejoin the track, because that's about 12 seconds lost. He decides to make up a bit of a gap again, and then it's a completely self-spin through Chapel. Does he fit the wheel onto the grass? Yes, he does. And yeah, he didn't hit the wall, but just skidding away from the track. Has to do a 180 and back on his way. So the pressure told in the end, and McNeely with a comfortable advantage. We'll now see if Malin can start making up the gap now that he's got nothing to lose.
Yeah, he's been quicker the whole way through this race, but now, with only 12 minutes left in this race, the gap is 9.3 seconds. He needs a second a lap out of McNeely if he's going to be able to still do this. They've got to lap P2 and GT4. That's Jess Martin, as he has to go around the outside of the GT4, and that'll be Kieran Fitzgerald up ahead in the GT3 Mercedes, and he makes his way past them as well. But he's led every single lap of this race, and a self-inflicted spin has just cost him as he slides his way through Brooklands there. He's really pushing on now, is Josh Malin. He tries to recover from lost time as well. Now on board with him, he'll be able to see the difference now in the steering input versus Lee McNeely. Remember how much steering lock that McNeely was using? And much less. McNeely was using almost full 90 degrees to the right to come through Copse Corner here. See the speed of these cars, they make their way through. It's just phenomenal, the downforce these cars have. And again, there's a bag of understeer. It's the same thing again, and goes off the road. And that'll surely be a slowdown penalty for Josh Malin. And he's really pushing hard, but it just seems like, I don't know, he's overheated his tires or something, and he's really suffering now through these fast corners.
We saw it in Formula One this year, in qualifying and in practice, and maybe a little bit in the race as well. Just drivers pushing that chap corner so hard, because you're leaning on the tyres so much, it probably overheats the tyre slightly for the few corners just prior, and then you really want to get a good exit. You can't leave anything on the table whatsoever on the exit there, because that really affects your speed all the way down the hanger straight, and just pushing a bit too hard right there. Merchant potentially going back into Church again here. Although Church just getting held up a little bit, but he just had to get out of the dots, or slightly had to take a tighter line to get past the GT or the Ferrari car. gap back up to 0.8 of a second. But I think, yeah, whoever seems to be behind in this battle seems to have the advantage. Right, of course, has already come into the pit. So they do have to come into the pits, which is very unclear. They have now got Swallow into the pits as well. But if they do have to come to the pits, and these guys may well fall back behind, right? Because Wright's got decent lap times at the moment, about 2 seconds faster than these guys. But they might be able to get to the end of the race. Certainly on fuel, they will be fine. Church just missing the apex right there. And yeah, no chance of an overtake at the moment. Swallow just coming out of the pits again, by the way. He comes out in 6th position. He's lost a couple of places, was ahead of Bird, I believe, just before the pit stop sequence. As yeah, here is Bird, so losing by about 40 seconds with that pit stop, as McNeely is now into the pits. The race leader, maybe that does indicate they are going to make a pit stop. Only 9 minutes to go. They're leaving it a little while. Malin stays out, though.
Yeah, Malin does indeed stay out, and apparently he's back off. He went off the road again as they came through. Is he going to now make his way through and retake the lead of this race? Stephen Bird behind Martin Hobson now, battling away for this position. Malin retakes the lead. Ward slots back in front here as Stephen Bird and Martin Hobson fight it out through Maggots and Beckett's here in the GT3 Ferraris. And all good so far. So Malin leads by 15 seconds now. And here they come now. Bird with a good run on Martin Hobson as well. But Malin had to watch out for Ward because he's only about 3 seconds behind him as well. So he's still a threat here, is Ward. It looks like Stephen Bird got a slow down on the exit of the chapel there as in comes Henry Church. So yes, there is a mandatory stop by the looks of things in this one. So Church slots back in front of Merchant as Church pits. So Malin leads, but look at that. David Ward now in the hunt for this race win. So whether Malin is carrying damage or the tires are just completely gone, he's really hemorrhaged time to the guys behind. You can see McNeely has re-emerged in 3rd place and is only 23 seconds behind the leader. So they don't have to change tires. They obviously don't have to fuel. So obviously she's going to come in fast repair and get back out there.
Yeah, that is. I'm surprised that none of these guys further up made that change earlier on. You think maybe you want to, particularly Malin and McNeely, perhaps wanted a bit of clear air rather than fighting directly against one another. See if Malin comes in on this lap. I think really McNeely should just do, well, apologies, Ward should do whatever Malin doesn't do, and he does stay out. Malin into the pits now. 7 minutes to go, and he should still be well behind McNeely. McNeely with a 12-second pit stop, to be fair. So if Malin's got enough fuel, then surely he can just stop and get back going. And surely you don't need to add any fuel to the car. So we'll keep an eye out on that one, let you know what his pit stop stationary time is, because he was about 12 seconds behind. So if he isn't stationary, then he could perhaps make up that entire gap.
Well, here we keep with Liam McNeely now as Josh Malin is about to re-emerge. No, he's just stopping now. His pit box is at the very end of the pit lane. He's still stopped. Liam McNeely comes around the outside. He's absolutely miles in front as they come through. The gap looks like it's going to remain the same at about 12 seconds. Stationary time of 10.5 seconds for Malin, but he re-emerges quite far behind, at about 10 seconds behind McNeely. There is Josh Malin. So even with a quick stop, the overcut was not the right call. So it's now going to be... I'm interested to see now, is David Ward now going to jump in front of Josh Malin? Because I'm sure Ward needs to respond on this lap, and he might be able to do some clever strategy here and slot himself in between these two now.
Yeah, it's always good to do the opposite of what your opponent does. And if I were Ward, I'd leave it as long as possible, to be honest. As long as he isn't in traffic, that is. If he's got some clear air ahead of him, just keep on going. Keep on saying good lap times, because you have the pace advantage over Malin before the pit stops occurred. Almost everyone's into the pits now, out of the LMP2. Still a few GTEs and GT3s to come into the pits. In fact, the vast majority still got to come into the pits. 40 minutes to go. 40 minutes into this race. 5 minutes to go. As Ward does come into the pits straight away. Maybe the fuel tank just doesn't go that far. I thought these LMP2s could go a good hour, to be honest, but maybe they are just limited a little bit more, and they can only go to the 40-minute mark. And so Ward needs a pit stop of around 10 seconds in order to come out between the two teammates.
We'll keep with Liam McNeely because he is going to retake the lead of this race now after the mistake from Josh Malin. The self-inflicted spin, McNeely comes across the line and he will slot in front to take the lead, but the gap we're watching now is between Ward and Malin. How far? So Ward's on the pit exit now. Has he done it? I think he might have done it on Josh Malin. Here's Josh Malin comes through turn one, and it's going to be close. Ward's going to be very close behind him. There is David Ward. He wasn't quite able to do it, but the gap remains at about 1.5 seconds. So a good effort from David Ward to do it, and he almost did it, but just not quite quick enough in the pit stops. But now he's gotten himself in a really nice position now. He's up behind Josh Malin, but not quite close enough to challenge. But a decent effort nonetheless to challenge Josh Malin for that second place as we approach now. Not long to go at all. Closing up on 3 minutes left to run in this race. As everybody has stopped, we have Luke Bennett from the lead of GTE, Scott McFall from the lead of GT3. There's still quite a substantial chunk of the field still yet to stop, but every single one of the LMP2s has stopped. GTEs have not, none of the GTEs have, but a good chunk of the GT3s have, and the GT4s have all stopped as well. But after the stops, it's 8.4 seconds in Liam McNeely's advantage, and the gap of 2 seconds between Malin and Ward, and then 40 seconds back to Jack Wright in P4. So he managed to jump those guys who went a little bit longer in the background. But here is this raging battle between Martin Hobson and Stephen Bird. Bird trying to come around the outside of Martin Hobson here. They've been battling for lap after lap, but here we go. Good run from Martin Hobson. He squeezed him all the way onto the grass. There was no way he could make his way through the aggressive defense from Martin Hobson, and he managed to keep Stephen Bird behind for now. But that was close now. Stephen Bird on the outside for Luffield. Kind of able to hang it around the outside here. Try to get a cutback maybe on the exit of Luffield corner. But no, not quite able to do it just yet. But now with the run towards Copse corner, this could be interesting between these two. This is a really feisty battle between these two. Serious defensive driving going on from Martin Hobson. Bird shows himself to the inside. Not quite able to do it. Now with the run towards Maggots and Beckett. Can he do something here in the slipstream of the Ferrari in front? Exactly the same car between them. And he needs to keep himself nice and close to Maggots and Beckett. Get the run down towards Stowe. And he might be able to do something here, but he's running out of laps, and it's going to be close enough whether we get another lap. We might have another just about 2 laps maybe to run at most here in Silverstone. Now, great run from Stephen Bird on the way down towards Stowe corner. What is Martin Hobson going to do? He's going to defend the inside line very robustly here. Stephen Bird, last moment, pulls to the outside line. Going to try and outbrake the Ferrari and cut up inside here, but is he able to do it? He's able to find some space on the inside. Side by side they go down towards the last couple of corners here. Stephen Bird on the outside, but Hobson still manages to hold on for now. Cut back line maybe from Stephen Bird. This time hops the curbs. That's going to cost Hobson the position, and that's how quickly he can change. Stephen Bird slots into 3rd place in GT3. Hobson tries to come back at him and runs off the road to pull alongside him as they run out towards turn 1 and gets back in front off the track. I think that might be looked at.
Yep, no off-track limits though for the drivers, and managed to take a slightly faster line outside now for turn 3. They'll turn into the inside for the next corner. These guys don't have a whole lot of respect for one another. This is great racing, really pushing each other right to the limits of the circuit, and Bird does get back ahead. Hobson makes sure that he doesn't lose out to the LMP2 car, just moving on to the Wellington Straight. But now the potential to make a gap, actually gains quite a bit down the Wellington Straight. Strangely, there was Hobson. He's straight back in range again. Could have a go into Copse corner. This is really the only wheel-to-wheel battle going on out on circuit. Every other kind of pair of cars are more than 2 seconds between one another. So this is really the place to watch at the moment. However, the leaders are actually on their last lap, so these guys will have one more lap to go after this one. But you can see in the top left of your screen, ticking down the last few seconds.
Exactly. So there goes 45 minutes completed. So the checkered flag is going to come out on this lap for Liam McNeely. But these guys have got another lap to do to sort themselves out between Stephen Bird and Martin Hobson for third place in GT3. And here they go down towards the last couple of corners now. And you can see Stephen Bird weaving down the straight to try and break the toe of Martin Hobson. This is it's great racing to watch, but certainly something interesting to look at as well between these two, because it's really, really aggressive between these two for the podium. But now with Liam McNeely, he's kept himself clean the whole way through this race, capitalised on the spin for Josh Malin, and he's now going to come through the last few corners barring any mistakes. It's the very first time we've seen the LMP2 on Apex Racing TV, and he claims the honours of the first winner in LMP2 here. Crossing the line to win overall. Liam McNeely wins the Sim Rigs event here in Silverstone, and crossing the line behind Josh Malin in second place behind, but great drive from him nonetheless to finish in second place, and David Ward in third in LMP2, and great stuff from him. Now, the thing we want to see is the battle for third between the GT3 cars right here, as Stephen Bird and Martin Hobson fight it out for third place. Luke Bennett is going to win by miles in GTE, so we'll keep our eyes on this one for now. This is these guys' final lap of the race. Martin Hobson trying to gain back third place in GT3, and it's been an interesting battle to watch. Can Stephen Bird keep Hobson behind him for one more sector, two more sectors, actually? So it's been intriguing to watch these guys go hammer and tongue at each other. William Chadwick looks like he's going to win GT4, but who's going to get on that final slide wide from Bird coming through Cop's corner? This could be Hobson's last chance, and his last chances in the last sector. So here we go, Maggots and Beckett for the final time between Bird and Hobson here. There's your GT4 leader as Hobson has a look. That's William Chadwick up ahead of them, who's about to cross the line to win GT4. He might get in the way of the battle for GT3 podium. Hobson goes wide, and that might cost him as they run down towards Stowe Corner. William Chadwick there moves over to the right-hand side, or the left-hand side of the track, and I think Stephen Bird has got enough of a gap in hand to hold on to that third place, and that has been a really intense battle. But right sandwiched in the middle of those guys is the man who ran off the road a little bit earlier, but has controlled GT4 from the rest of it. There he is in the background, a shot, William Chadwick. He's going to cross the line to win GT4. Stephen Bird fights hard and crosses the line for third in GT3. Hobson for fourth, and just behind William Chadwick wins GT4 in the background as well. Well, that was pretty intense for a 45-minute race, and fantastic to see that the LMP2s are fantastic to watch racing too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, fantastic to see the drivers pass out. There is a little bit of contact. It looked like a good battle for that P3, didn't it? But maybe slightly aggrieved post-race amongst the competitors there. Also, of course, big shout out to Scott McFall with the GT3 win. Was a great drive from him. But yeah, some good driving. To be fair, this was a relatively fun event in with one of the cars, a car that many of the drivers hadn't driven before, but it was all very professional, good driving from everyone out there, and most importantly, some fantastic racing for us to watch.
There's your official rundown of results. Liam McNeely from Josh Malin and David Ward. 9 seconds between the top three. Good stuff after 45 minutes. Jack Wright, P4. Daniel Merchant, Michael Seal, Henry Church, and Connor Chalmers are your in the LMP2 field. Luke Bennett winning GTE. Scott McFall winning GT3. Rickard Carlson in P2 and GT3. MJ Briggs, P2 and GTE. Stephen Bird in third place, and Martin Hobson in fourth place. And I've had a look over that incident after the flag, and that looked like certainly intentional for Martin Hobson spinning Stephen Bird. Obviously not very happy with something going on there. Chris Simmons behind, then Paul Phelan third in GTE. Sam Swallow, Magnus Johansson, Dan Fisher, Kieran Fitzgerald. Then William Chadwick had a fantastic battle with Jess Martin for the GT4 win. Well, he comes out with it, and Jess Martin P2 in GT4. Gary Duckman, Liam Atkins third in GT4. Then Dan Carpenter, Richard Sanderson, Milton Carvalho, Cameron Moss, Freddie Hewitt, and a couple of non-starters. Freddie Hewitt and JB Hayward, non-starters in this race. So, fantastic job from all the drivers today. We're just going to have a quick check and see if anybody is standing by to talk to us, and that is No, nobody wants to talk to us, as per usual, Sam.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've experienced 19 years of that, so nothing new. Also very pleased that on our scenic cameras, one of the cameras is of the toilets at Silverstone. So hopefully everyone's enjoying that. It has been cool to get rid of those cameras, but I quite like the need to see all the scenery of Silverstone. Some fantastic, some top notch toilets there. But hopefully we see many more of these gyros back soon. Hopefully we see the P2s back as well, because at the moment I don't believe we've got any broadcasts signed up with the P2 car. Which is a shame, because we haven't seen the HPD for a few years on Apex Racing TV. We've never really seen the LMP ones. Maybe a couple of championships we saw it on, but certainly for again a couple of years. And so it'd be fantastic to see these LMP2s much more on circuit. And yeah, cannot wait to drive it as well. I'm certainly going to be heading down to Alton Park in just a few minutes to be racing in the official series.
I thought you were gonna say. I thought you were gonna say that we need to see more of the Silverstone toilets. If you want to see more of that, vote in the chat. If you want to keep the Silverstone toilet cameras going, because Sam is very passionate about the toilets here. But 5 minutes left. Still nobody waiting to talk to us. But yeah, great to see the mix-up in the field as well. We had the LMP2s, GTEs. I was a little bit sad there wasn't more GTEs on the grid. There's only 3 of them. Obviously, it was probably 2 cars that everyone's not maybe too happy with, the BMW and there was 4 actually. Well, one didn't take to the grid, but JB Hayward P4, so it was only 3. Luke Bennett in the BMW, and then the other 2 in the Ferraris. Ferrari obviously not usually a popular choice for GTE. Everyone likes the Porsche and the Ford. So, and of course the brand new Corvette. I'm very sad we didn't see the Corvette out today, because I don't know if you tried it, Sam, but that's also a fantastic car.
1095 too much, unfortunately, for myself. I always try to avoid buying as many cars as possible, but I may well have to try it, because I have heard some very good things. It does look spectacular. It looks iconic, does that car, I would say. So fantastic that iRacing released that one. But yeah, I did hear a couple of, I think I certainly heard one judge say, oh, I've been practicing the Fords this whole week, and now I can't race it, which was a bit of a shame for one of the drivers. So yeah, I think that's a big reason why we didn't see quite as many GTs, because usually it's just as popular, if not more popular, than the GT3 class, which you can see there had plenty of entries in there. Nilton Carvalho, remember, spun before the race even started, so it was a pretty terrible event for him. But I mean, Scott McFall was just really quiet under the radar, wasn't he? I think he pulled away by about 10 seconds in the first couple of laps. His first couple of laps were so crazy, with the GTEs getting in amongst the GT3s. Also, the P2s as well were there for a while. And McFall just didn't seem to get affected by that at all, and just pulled away straight away. Had no problems. Also, didn't come into the pits as well. So it seemed like the P2s had to come into the pits, perhaps for fuel, but the GTs managed to stay out.
Yeah, it looks like it. So the LMP2s, we found out, can't go 45 minutes without a pit stop. Here's the GT4 winners. William Chadwick won by a lap in the end over Jess Martin, which doesn't really tell the story of that GT4 race, because Jess and William had an absolutely spectacular battle on the halfway distance. Liam Atkins crossing third place, and Cameron Moss not finishing. So only 4 GT4s on the grid as well. So GT3 really being the most popular class apart from the LMP2s. So maybe if they changed the car choice for the opening round, then maybe could have been that. But we do actually have some people standing by. We might only be able to fit 1 or 2 in, but we have got our race winner, Liam McNeely, standing by. I'm going to drag him in. If my laptop would stop being dumb, here we go. Liam McNeely, winner from LMP2 class. Welcome to the commentary box. Looked like it was all going Josh Malin's way in the early part, but then his own mistake and he capitalized. Brilliant job.
Yeah, I just kept out of trouble really. That was my like plan. I didn't have the pace to win the race, so I just tried to keep out of trouble, and that's what won me the race.
So obviously, brand new car, LMP2. It's only been out for 2 days. How much practice did it take to get used to running this car around here? How do you find the car?
I didn't do I didn't do much testing around Silverstone, but I just jumped in, used the high downforce set for a bit, and it seemed to be fairly stable, so I just got used to that really.
We were on board as well. We're kind of interesting. You seem to use quite a lot of steering lock compared to another drivers. Is that just a style thing, or was it due to damage?
I I try and use a fair bit of lock and try and get the straightest exit possible out of so there's no wheel spin or the ABS kicking in. So I just try and get the straightest exit possible out of the hairpins really.
Good stuff. And finally, for me, obviously, there was a lot of different classes of car on track as well. So, how tricky was it trying to negotiate your way through GT4s, GT3s, and GTEs all at the same time while battling with other cars?
Yeah, I just felt I needed to be patient and just overtake when I needed to whilst trying to chase down Josh as well.
Good stuff. Well, congratulations on the win, Liam, and hopefully we'll be speaking to you again in the future.
Thank you, mate. Ciao.
So that was Liam McNeely, the race winner, and we have got a couple of others standing by. So Sam, I think you get to take your pick on those.
Yes, it was a case of you can't beat Bennett today, or Bennett. Um, love that advert. Well done, Luke, on the GTE win. That seems all quite simple for you. You were well clear within a couple of laps, and then just carried on quite swimmingly from then on.
Not too bad, to be honest. I mean, after practice, I see that I was setting the pace, so I knew that as long as I could stay out of trouble in the race, I'd be pretty cool for the race, and I managed to do that and won by a lap, so not too bad at all.
How was it with the faster P2s driving past you? I mean, have you got experience with multi-class racing before?
Yeah, done quite a bit of multi-class racing on iRacing, if I'm honest. So quite used to the faster cars coming through. Especially, I know quite a few of the drivers in the LMP2, so I know that they'll be quite happily sailing past me.
And of course, the C8 has been released. Will you be dipping your toe in that, or do you think you'll stay with the M8 for the foreseeable future?
Well, I was originally going to go with the Porsche, but didn't realize that that wasn't one of the choices. So I done no practice coming into this, but I haven't bought the C8 yet, so haven't driven it. But in the near future, I'm sure that that will be in my stack of iRacing cars to be driving.
Awesome. Well, big thanks for having a chat with us, Luke, and well done out there. We'll hopefully see you very soon on Apex Racing TV.
He appears to have just gone. He almost got to say his goodbye. We might actually keep talking, so I'm going to drag in the winner from GT3 class, Scott McFall. Obviously, great job on the GT3 win. It seemed that the early part of the race was the key part to get the gap and hold on to it.
Yeah, it was fortunate to get the cold tyres to grip up in the start, and obviously a mistake for Stephen Bird gave a good chance to get that early lead.
Yeah, and obviously seeing these LMP2s out on track for the very first time, how was it trying to keep your eyes in front while also trying to let these faster cars through at the same time?
With the gap that I had, the small gap that I had at the front, it was quite reasonable. I just thought to myself, keep myself out of the roads whenever I noticed them coming up and let them pass nice and easy, and hopefully tuck in behind and keep going.
And we've had a great race overall today. So you're looking forward to more in the future?
Yeah, it should be good, definitely. Enjoyed the first race, didn't quite expect to get the win, but take it.
Good stuff. Well, thanks a million for joining us, Scott. Hopefully we'll be talking to you again in the future on Apex Racing TV.
Thanks very much and enjoyed it.
Thank you. So, Sam, we've got one more. I think we've got our GT4 winner standing by.
Yeah, it's always nice when we can get through all of our race winners in the interviews. Congratulations, William out there. That was a good battle though with Jess for a few laps. You seem to have a couple of issues, but that battle with Jess seemed all clean and very fair.
Yeah, it was a really good battle, to be honest. I mean, I have to thank the team really for putting everything together, vibe, and just for such a good race, and also Simrigs for setting up such a good race. I'm sorry, that is my Alexa. um, so yeah, we had a really good race out there, and yeah, had a few issues. We had a bit of damage at one point. We also got collected with a P2, but happens. You just got to pick yourself up again and get going, really.
Alexa off. I don't know if that will solve it or not. But yeah, you seem to really get into a groove as the race went on. Your lap time seemed to get quite a bit better. I mean, did you just feel more confident in the GT4s as the event went on?
I mean, I've done a lot in the GT4s, not as of recent, but yeah, me and Scott did a lot of work in the GT4s around Silverstone, and yeah, we have number 1 and 2 in the world on lap times in the GT4s. So yeah, we've just been doing well, and we've been focusing on GT3s recently, but just trying to push Vibe forward every day, really.
Absolutely. A quick question. I mean, what championships are Vibe currently entering in, and what championships are you planning on taking part in the near future?
So I think so. We're doing a lot of the VRS stuff. So we're doing VRS endurance every week, and we have been doing with SimFX, and we've also been doing what is it now? We'll be doing some ILMS and obviously the endurance races. I think I'll be also competing in the CXR Racing League. All right, cool. Thanks, Alexa. Alexa really is being annoying today, but
Can we interview Alexa, please?
yeah, you can interview Alexa. Alexa, how are you? Alexa, how are you?
I'm feeling literary. I've been reading loads of books, including my favorite, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. If you're after some inspiration,
Whatever, I don't know.
This is new.
Much more interesting than normal.
Yeah, well, that's quite good AI, isn't it? Taking over the world. Yeah, but yeah, we're going to be doing loads of endurance events, and it's just been really good. Thank you to SimFX as well, who really help elevate our online platform with the website and also the clothing that's just come out. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Will, for having a chat with us. Thanks, Alexa, as well, for having a chat with us. And we'll hopefully see you back very soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well,
That was an odd one there from William Chadwick. Wow.
Well, if you ever wanted to know how Alexa is, then there you go. It seems to like Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. And on that note, we've got to wrap up. So it's been a fantastic event for the Simrigs first event live at Silverstone. It's round 1. Hopefully we'll be back for more in the future. It's been great having the guys over at Simrigs running a fantastic event. And yeah, thanks to Sam for joining me as always, Mark for doing the cameras in the background, and yeah, it's been a fantastic event. We'll see you hopefully at some point in the future. Thank you and good evening.